All right, guys, TP here. Had some questions about the settings in this week's tournament. I think Cornelius was wondering why he couldn't see the elevation on one of his shots. So I noticed right away that we have the wrong difficulty settings once again. We have some settings that are locked on, and those are settings that are on by default on amateur difficulty, but they should be off on the default pro-am difficulty. So I'm going to go over specifically the Provision settings because these are the most important, and I'm going to kind of show and explain to you what each one does and whether or not it should be on or off on default Pro-Am difficulty. We're going to start off with Provision Trajectory. What does it do? I'm going to show you right now. All right, the Provision Trajectory is basically that blue line that you see that goes from the golf ball and that arcs towards the pin. You know, that's going to show you the flight of the golf ball after you make contact, and assuming that you hit perfect contact and swing path. And obviously, you can, if you draw it or move it left or right, it'll change the arc. But that's going to show you the flight of the golf ball based on how you have set up your shot. And on the default Pro-Am settings, this one is on. All right, let's move on to the next setting. All right, Provision Elevation. As you can see, this one is on, but on the Pro-Am default difficulty, this one should be off. And this is what Cornelius was asking about because he had a shot where he couldn't see the elevation, so he was wondering why. So I'm going to explain to you what it does. Show you in just a second. All right, if you look at the aim marker on the green, and then just to the right of that it says 150 yards, and then to the right of that you see nothing. So with the elevation on, it automatically takes into account, it calculates the elevation for you, and it adjusts the power accordingly. So like the standard is for every 3 feet of elevation is 1 yard. So if it's like 15 feet up, then it's an extra 5 yards. If it's 15 feet down, it's 5 yards less. And so it automatically adjusts the power for you accordingly. So that's why you don't see the elevation. Now, on the default Pro-Am difficulty, it is off. And just to the right of the yards, you'll see like a triangle. And if the triangle is pointing up, that means that it's uphill. And then if its triangle is pointing down, that means it's downhill. And then just to the right of that, it's going to give you a number, and that number is going to be feet. So like if the triangle is pointing up and it says 15, you know it's up 15 feet, and then you have to adjust that into the yards and then calculate how much power you think you need to add because it's uphill or downhill. All right, let's move on to the next setting. All right, Provision Lie Angle. As you can see, it is on, but on the default Pro-Am settings, it is off. What does it do? I'm going to show you right now. All right, the Provision Lie Angle, it adjusts the aim for you automatically based on whether the ball is above or below your feet. So as you can see, the ball is above my feet, which means it's going to shoot left off the club. Now, as you can see, the aim marker is perfectly on the pin. So it has already made that adjustment for you. So if you're looking at it right now, you would think if you hit it, it's going to go left. But it's already calculated the aim for you based on the angle of your foot lie. But when it's off, it doesn't make that adjustment for you. So if it was off, and the ball's above your feet, you'd have to adjust something like this. you kind of have to gauge how much you need to adjust it based on how far it is uphill. And then you also have to take in consideration the direction of the wind. And then obviously, if it's below your feet, you want to aim left because the ball is going to go right off the club. And you have to take into consideration, once again, the wind, speed, and the direction, and adjust accordingly. But with that setting being on, it automatically does all that for you. All right, let's check out the next setting. All right, ProVision Lie Penalty. As you can see, it is on, but on the default program settings, it is off. What does it do? I'm going to explain it to you right now. All right, the ProVision Lie Penalty, basically what it does is automatically adjust your power based on your lie percentage. So as you can see, I'm in the rough, and you don't see a percentage. There is a percentage, but you don't see it. It automatically calculates how much power to add based on the percentage of the lie. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the fairway or in the rough or in a bunker or on a cart path. It's going to automatically adjust the power for you based on the percentage of the lie, but you don't see that percentage. So it just does it for you automatically. Now, when obviously on Pro-Am difficulty, it is off. And so then you would see a lie percentage, you get a range, maybe like 75 to 85% in the rough. Maybe it's heavy rough. So you kind of have to calculate how much power you think you're going to have to add, based on the percentage of your lie. And that's going to be different from light rough, to heavy rough. Because with light rough, it's not going to roll out as much as heavy. And if you're hitting from the bunker, you're going to get more spin, So those are all things that you have to calculate, when the percentage is off. But when it's locked on like it is currently, it does all the calculations for you. All right, let's move on to the last setting. All right, ProVision Wind. As you can see, it is off, and on default program settings, it is off. But what does it do? I'm going to show you right now. All right, ProVision Wind is pretty simple. If that is on, it basically adjusts your aim for you based on the wind speed and the direction. If it is off, like it is on the default Pro-Am difficulty, then you have to adjust your aim, based on the wind. And then also you have to take into consideration, your foot lie, whether it's, is it above your feet, below your feet, So you have to do a few different things, but when it is on, it does all that for you. All right, so those are the settings that we have for this current tournament, and those are not the correct default Pro-Am settings. So as it stands right now, the only thing that you have to adjust for is the wind. So the elevation is already taken into account. The aim for the angle of your lie, whether it's above or below your feet, is already taken into account. The lie penalty, with it being on, it's going to automatically adjust the power for you based on whatever lie you're in. So it's basically, for all intents and purposes, it's doing most of the work for you. The only thing you have to adjust for is the wind. So we have a number of tournaments that are already set up in the society, but they all have the incorrect settings. They don't have the correct default Pro-Am difficulty settings. But it's actually a pretty simple little fix. And I put out a quick little video, I think about a week or two ago, to show you how to edit those settings. It's real quick, but I'm going to do it one more time, and it's going to take me a few seconds, but you'll see it right now. All right, guys, welcome to my society. I set up a couple of tournaments, and I have a tournament that's upcoming, and I'm just going to show you how to go in there, on how to quickly edit an event and get the correct Pro-Am default settings. So click on the upcoming event, click Edit Event, click Main, and then go over to Event Settings, click that. Obviously, we don't use the golf balls, so make sure that is set to prohibited. And just to show you, there is, the ProVision wind was off, and the rest of them were on in the Society. Now, the trajectory should be on, but the elevation, lie angle, lie penalty, and wind all should be off. And here's a quick, simple fix. Right up here where it says gameplay, difficulty, preset. Okay, when you adjust it, there's perfect swing, amateur, Pro-Am. So when you move the gameplay difficulty preset to Pro-Am, that automatically puts you on the default Pro-Am settings. So the ProVision wind is off, penalty is off, ProVision lie angle is off, the elevation is off, and then the trajectory is on. So we are on the default Pro-Am difficulty settings. The only other adjustment that you have to make, because we don't allow putt preview on the Pro-Am 3-click tour, so just adjust that down to 0, and then you exit out one more time, and exit out one last time, and you click Update Event. Now, just to go in here and show you, obviously we have the golf balls off, and no putt preview, ProVision wind off, ProVision lie penalty off, ProVision lie angle off, ProVision elevation off, and ProVision trajectory on. So we have successfully edited an event, and we have the correct default Pro-Am settings, and it doesn't take maybe 45 seconds to do one event. So it's a real quick process. Just wanted to show you, how simple and easy it is to fix it. So hopefully we can get the proper settings, or the proper default Pro-Am settings for the next tournament. But we'll see. All right, that's going to do it, guys. So hope you guys shot well in the tournament. And hopefully if we get the correct settings, I'll be playing again next week. All right, take care.